Legendary made this one.
Lexx, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, my sister. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. Lately, I thought it was only right, and we just discussed this before we got the internet started. Before we got the interview, I said the internet started. We're going to get the internet started now. The interview started that I brought someone who has been a part of the, quote, conscious community for quite some time. You and Brother Polight, Saneter, I call him Saneter, have over 20 years of debate and can I say Hotep experience? Because you guys did some debates in Hoteps and things like that. And so just in case people aren't aware of what a Hotep is, could you explain it to them from your perspective since you are a part of the conscious community?
Okay, so me being a person who's more so on the biblical end that promotes the Bible. The way I was introduced to the Hotep community is that they are an attempt at a revival of ancient African spirituality.
Okay.
Right? So they're trying to go into the ancient way of the ancestors, as it were, to revive those ideas, those truths that us today, the living descendants, that we could live, prosper, and begin to create something anew through. Right, okay. So you can probably put it in the category of, I guess, calling it like New Age spirituality.
Okay, are you a preacher?
In a sense, yes, I'm a minister. Yes. Okay.
And so I want everything on the table. I know this can be a very touchy subject because a lot of people don't like to discuss spirituality or their religion, but we're here to talk about what's been going down because, of course, we got things that go down in Christianity. We got things that go down in, the atheist community, anything. And so I think every community has their good and their bad. That's what creates the balance of it all. And unfortunately, we've had to bring forth some very devastating information about one of your, quote, spiritual leaders who goes by the name Brother Polight, better known as Micheal Noak, who's been recently charged with sexual battery, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and another charge I can't think, engaging in sexual acts with a minor between the ages of 12 and 17. 2 are felonies, 1 is a misdemeanor. These are very, very serious charges. And he has recently just turned himself in. He was released on an error bail that will be corrected per my sources. And so, because I know he is out and a lot of people are like, how could he commit such a heinous crime and yet be out? That was an error, and they are fixing that as we speak. However, you and I came to across each other when I did premiere this story on my platform. Now, a lot of my viewers were kind of confused, like, wait a minute. And I'm like, listen, if you have followed African spirituality, if you have tried to understand, where we come from and how it's all been just kind of blurred out so that we don't know who we are as an African people, you will then know who Brother Polight is and a lot of other guys. And I don't want to mention their names because I don't want them being roped into something that's so heinous as the crime that Brother Polight, aka Micheal Noak, has committed, or I can say allegedly committed, against a 14-year-old girl who is the daughter of his ex-girlfriend. And so when you heard the news, were you familiar with my channel?
I was thoroughly familiar with the channel, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm actually a subscriber to your channel long before all of this.
Oh, well, thank you, because I know a lot of the, African ministers, they ain't for my work. You know what I'm saying? They're like, hold up.
Well, you are appreciated by a good few of us, for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, just in case people don't know, you do host your own show here on YouTube titled Zion Lexx TV, and you do cover a lot of the things that are going on within the Hotep community and surrounding a lot of the so-called spiritual leaders. And you've been on Brother Polight's ass for quite some time. I've noticed that. And so I do commend you because you did see something and you spoke out on it before anybody else decided to call BS for BS. Now, when you initially heard the news, what was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction, unfortunately, was not one of shock. Why so? Because of the track record. Micheal Noak, aka Brother Polight, he's on record stating that his master teacher, who is now in jail, incarcerated, a fellow by the name of York.
Yeah, Dr. York. Dr. Malachi York, just in case people are wondering who he is. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Malachi Z. York. He is accused and convicted of several counts of rape involving, in particular, minors. Brother Polight interviewed one of the victims, and the victim was frustrated that Brother Polight was defending Malachi Z. York. And Brother Polight says, well, let me say this to you. Let's say that Dr. York, in fact, molested and raped over 100 children, and we can verify it through scientific evidence, even the likes of DNA. He said, I would still have to regard Dr. York as my father and as my God.
I was pretty cringy, and I was shocked at his demeanor and how just put off he was and disgusted with some of the things that one of Dr. York's victims, who had testified against Dr. York and played a part in putting him in jail. And he is currently serving, I believe, like 5 life sentences, 123 years total. He is in a supermax facility out in the Midwest, and he ain't getting out. Now, I've seen some of Dr. Malachi Z. York's work, and I got to tell you, I was taken aback. I mean, and I've heard a lot of the stories that some of the victims who were a part of the Nuwaubian, if I'm saying that right, community who followed under his teachings talked about that he made kids with women. And then once those kids got I guess once they got their periods, or once the boys came into puberty, he would then make them sleep together to create children. And then once those children came of, I guess, what he quote age or into their coming 13, 12, sometimes 11, he would then he would sleep with them and have them make children. So I mean, some of the things that I heard, I mean, I just could not imagine people being so, and I don't want to call them weak-minded, but gullible enough to follow someone who was so just terrifying. And I couldn't imagine, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Like I said, the floor is yours. Please continue.
All right. So obviously, with that type of background, when I heard this recent news, it wasn't altogether shocking. All right. What's altogether shocking is the manner in which Brother Polight has chosen to represent himself now that the news is out. That's the thing that's shocking for me and for others in the community. Right. I'd also be remiss to say that I'd add a slight correction, because the platform of the Saneter platform or the conscious community, it attracts leaders of several different communities. So none of us fall under, let's say, a Brother Polight. He's a leader in his community, I'm a leader in my community. So it attracts a bunch of different leaders that begin to come together to bring out our ideas for how we can liberate our people today. The only problem is, and I know your eyes and your ears is to this, a lot of these guys, they take this information and they pimp it. So they're out here using the ankh to get inside of women. They're out here using, the grandiose speeches, the fact that they can speak multiple languages, the fact that they can show videos to ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, the fact that they can take a picture next to some of the great ancestors that have known to have walked the walk, as it were, in our day and time. So the Hotep community has become the new hustle, right? It's a hustle today to preach consciousness, and Polight is at the head of that totem pole.
How would you define consciousness?
I would define consciousness as someone who was aware, not simply that there's a God force or a deep sense of spirituality that dwells within, but I would define consciousness as someone who is acting on the things that they know, right? For instance, Tasha, I would say to you that one of the things that makes in our community these matters to happen like this is because of basic things like a disconnect with language. When you hear someone speak, especially a black male or female, and they say something eloquent, when they finish speaking, everyone claps and says, "Oh, that brother is knowledgeable. Oh, that sister is knowledgeable." The reality is, none of us know that. The word knowledge is a compound word, right? The first part, to know, represents the acquisition of information. Lexx is an old German word which means to act upon. So knowledge doesn't simply mean or represent what a person knows. It represents how much a person is acting on the things that they know.
Okay.
And that's the line that we need to divide in our community. A lot of these dudes don't practice what they preach. A lot of them are not acting upon the things that they know, but we trust them because they are so gifted with the way that they convey those ideas.
Now, I'm glad that you broke it down like that, because a lot of people do, and that's why I use the word gullible, because you know, they will just take people's words at face value. And I do like that you do practice what you preach. You are married. I don't know if you have children or not, but you're not. Brother Polight's character was real questionable. I mean, videos of him walking in pimp attire with women who, you know, who are dressed, I would say, for someone who claims that they're a spiritual leader and they're out to free our people, and yet these women represented a community of women who we deem not appropriate to my standards. It wouldn't be someone that I would want my daughter to learn from.
Right.
And he would walk hand in hand with a lot of these women, yet preaching to people, and people are donating to what he says, and as if this is the correct way to live. You know, he's dead set on, you know, polygamy being a one, and you know, just I mean, I can get into a lot of stuff here, but that's why I have you here. But I mean, I was just taken aback at how people just kind of clung to him. But when I did my research, how you put it, knowledge, and then ledge is the act upon the information that's been given to you, which is study the information. A lot of his teachings were the same. He did not, like, if you watched one hotep, one lecture here, it was all the same information, just kind of regurgitated in a different way.
That's right.
And he used this to get close to some of the world's biggest celebrities, Floyd Mayweather, Denzel Washington. I mean, he was pretty slick with it. And I mean, you got to give him a round of applause for him being able to kind of climb that ladder. Yeah. You know, as close as he did. But let's talk about the first time you came into contact with Brother Polight. Like, what was your initial reaction?
So my first contact with Brother Polight goes back to the year 2013.
Okay.
And we're having a debate.
Okay.
Brother Polight represents the Hotep community, and they are totally anti-Bible.
Okay.
And, you know, I come from a community where we still realize and place great respect on that Bible that many of our grandmothers and grandfathers, you know, died for. Right. So we were at odds intellectually, and you know, the conscious community is mainly a debate setting where black men and women can not argue in the sense of being volatile or physical, but intellectually debate which ideas for liberation are more practical for black people today world over.
Okay.
Which, you know, at its heart, it's an amazing concept. The only problem is when money got involved. You see, and I always say, when money becomes the catalyst for why a person comes into consciousness, you're going to always see a person fold or a person, you know, not live to the moment, because money is the catalyst and the driving force for giving the people consciousness. So when money has become the catalyst and the driving force, it now has incapacitated the integrity of the movement and the conscious community on a whole. So our introduction is mainly as debaters, where I'm debating for the Bible and its principles and its morals, and Brother Polight is teaching its principle and its morals are outdated, and we all need to fly to Egypt and live as our African ancestors once did.
Okay, that's very well put into perspective. Now, damn, there's like so much. What I noticed when I first came into, I guess, Brother Polight and his so-called teachings is that he spoke a lot about polygamy, sex, being a man being able to be as free as he wants, you know, and even when, you know, we dropped the charges on the channel, the first thing that he said when he made his rebuttal video was that I did not do it. He didn't say that. He said, if I were to die today, I would be proud of the things that I've done and the first thing that came out of his mouth was, I've slept with the women that I've wanted to sleep with. Now that was pretty shocking. I don't know if you saw that. He was sitting in the back. He was sitting in the back of his Rolls Royce, and I don't even think it was his Rolls Royce because, you know, I have a lot of sources that come to me that said that he is, when I say dead broke. We
know it's. Even here in New York, we know that Polight is a renter, or what we call a fronter. It's all rented.
Well, do you think he does that just to lure in women?
Well, it's not just to lure in women because he's also known as the top scammer in the conscious community, right? So it's receipts upon receipts upon receipts where he's getting 20,000 from this person, 30,000 from that person, 17,000. Like, you literally can type in Brother Polight scamming and see all of the receipts of people who actually present receipts in their videos to show that they have been scammed for thousands of dollars from Brother Polight.
Doing what? Why would they give him money? Like, what was his reasoning?
So he's teaching people how to go around the system, as it were, and invest in stocks and bonds, as well as to buy homes at, you know, very low rates. He promises a big turnaround. All you got to do is front him about 15 grand to get the secret, which you realize what's going on, Tasha.
But he doesn't even own a home.
He doesn't even own a home. But the thing is, what he does do is he'll go and get these Airbnb properties throughout LA or Miami. He'll make sure to do videos in them promoting the things that he's trying to sell people, because he knows he's a very intelligent man in that respect. He knows that the aura that is created from this scenery alone is going to be the selling point. And unfortunately, a lot of our people are exactly what you said, gullible. So they buy into it.
Damn. Now let's go back to him being, I guess, kind of fathered under Dr. Malachi York. I'm sorry, pedophile Malachi York. I'm not gonna call him doctor no more.
That's right.
Now you said you weren't surprised because he was kind of birthed under him, and of course we've, you know, like I said, I'm gonna put the interview in here. Has there been any other instances besides the ones that I've put out that kind of affirmed his birth or ways that came from Malachi? Say for instance, like I found a video, and I'm gonna try to reference that video and put it in here, but he was in the car with a young lady, top down. And this is the same young lady who was referred to as his daughter, who was 15 when she left her mother, and her mother advised her against following him, and she decided to run away with him. And so I saw them in the car, and she kept saying, "Daddy, Daddy," and she had on like a short dress, and it was real. It was like you can tell that it wasn't genuine, and it was more so like a pimp situation. Yeah. Like, has there been any other instances besides what's alleged here with his girlfriend's daughter and the 15-year-old who ran away with him, who posed as his daughter but was really one of his undocumented wives? Right.
So, like yourself, I have heard of that instance myself before, and when we demand more information about it, it's always, you know, swept under the rug, which is why people like myself attack him so vehemently, because I realize that as a predator, which is what this guy is, if he's being allowed to do this time and time again, any of us that stands anywhere near him, we're just as guilty. We're culpable. So we have to speak out. We have to use our voice. So whenever we would find out the information, we'd reach out to him directly, and of course, no response. We'd reach out to those who are close to him, and of course, no response. To the point where we realize that this is not the conscious community, Sister Tasha. This is the unconscious community. These people are speaking about being woke, but they're asleep. Not just sleep, but we're in a nightmare. Because we can't be selling consciousness and entertaining this type of behavior. So I will say that we have heard inklings of it, and I would say in my case, a full 2 years ago. And when we try to go out and seek more information on it, it's under wraps. So the greatest information that we've had on it is what everyone has seen come out in the blogger world now, with reference to his cohort, Saneter.
Okay. Let's talk about Saneter, because you've had some words for him too. And I told him, I said, listen, whatever I find on you, I'm putting it out. And the apple don't fall too far from the tree, because I feel that he's been extremely complicit in a lot of Brother Polight's behavior, because he's known from the jump about these underage women and has condoned it for, I would say, from the outside looking in, I guess monetary or just being how would you put it, associated with someone who's associated, who has access.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on Saneter, or Saneter is what I call him? Okay,
just as guilty, because where we come from, right, silence, right, is agreement. To have so much hidden knowledge or first-hand knowledge, as he purports to have, because he alludes to it, right, yet never actually comes out to report it to the authorities, never actually comes out to condemn the brother, even yet to now has still not come out to condemn the brother.
Yeah, because he was the... Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, lastly, if you're not going to come out to condemn him, in fact, what you will do is to come out and condemn those speaking of him, then we must say, rightfully so, as you said, you are just as responsible, you are culpable.
Because he was the first, which was shocking. Well, not shocking in a sense, but how hungry he was to get on top of this. He was the first to give Brother Polight a call to, and what's shocking is he did not ask him if it was true. He assumed that after him knowing and putting out on his platform that there has been other underage women, but he's kind of, like you said, he'll put it out there, then he'll kind of bag back. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is too touchy for me. And so when he called up Brother Polight to ask, didn't even ask him, he was just like, yeah, I hear some, some stuff going on out here. He was like, yeah, I hear the negative message. And to see them refer to sexual battery against a 14-year-old as negative, it was very dismissive. It was sickening to me that you would say that this was, oh, we don't respond to negativity, as if he was already kind of, well, I don't believe this, although I have accounts of him doing it before.
As a father of 16-year-old twin daughters, to hear a grown man come out with such serious charges, and the only thing that he will speak towards is the charges are negative, and doesn't feel the sense of letting at least his followers know, I can't go into the details of the case, but what I will say is I am not guilty. I am innocent.
Right.
Everyone knows it is within his full legal right to at least say that. He doesn't have to say anything else, but he could have at least said that. Instead, he says, you can't cancel me. I don't work for the machine. So everyone who's talking about I'm going to get canceled because of the charges, I cannot be canceled because unlike you guys, I am the machine. I don't work for the machine. So it's the arrogance. It's the bravado. It's the blatant unconsciousness. The same characteristic that we've been seeing time and time again from many leaders that have let us down in the past, right? So he's just the latest one. And then his cohort, which is what I have to call him, because if you can't stand as a man with a backbone, and Tasha, if this wasn't your show, I'd say it the way I want to say it.
You should say it. You know, you should say it.
Right? If you don't got the fortitude as a man and a backbone to stand for what's right, Brother Saneter is almost 60 years old. You know, you are what we call in the streets, you the big homie.
Well, not as I mean, I've seen his past and his like, I guess his records, and I mean, I feel that because he was addicted to crack did you know that?
I didn't know that. That's a revelation. I did hear.
Yeah, I got the receipt. No, I got the receipts. Crack, cocaine. Okay, he came up during the time when crack was very popular, and I feel that it's taken a toll on him mentally. And when I see someone his age on the internet, like engaging in straight up buffoonery, and you would call up a man that you know that has a history of doing this to try and deviate from what was really up, that's really uncomfortable for me.
I totally agree.
And people are following a crackhead because he still acts as if he's a crackhead. If you watch his show, it's gonna make sense.
It makes sense to me now.
you see it now. You even his mannerisms, the jerking, the ticking, the all off the wall, like the trying to catch something and then whoops, I need to sit my ass down. I'm a little too fast. You know what I'm saying? It's given very much lingering side effects from the 20 plus years of smoking crack. Now that is not allegedly. I have that on, like I said, we have the police, his criminal background. Because he got locked up every time he was caught smoking. Yeah.
Well, he tried to do damage control ahead of you, because he did say that he was aware that people are now going to try to pry into his past. And he said the only thing that they're going to find is that I went to jail for selling drugs.
No, he went to jail for selling drugs one time. The rest was smoking crack.
Well, it makes sense now. Okay.
And I put that out like I said, I told you I was not playing with these niggas. I was not playing with them. I'm not. Because it's been going on for too fucking long. And especially the way our people have been like, kind of fucked up over the years, and to see people just deliberately, just take advantage. It's over. And like I said, I wasn't trying to be funny, but I was trying to be funny. Like I said, they said the black woman is God, right? That's what they said, right? Right. You believe the black woman is God?
I believe that we both come together to form the divine image. That's
okay. So, the whole time niggas say that the black woman is God. So that's why I kind of gave that sarcastic redemption of. Right. Okay, since you say the black woman is God, but yet y'all out here raping the black woman, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. You out here, using them for their money, taking advantage of them. You're not taking care of them, because like I said, all those so-called wives, that was literally a figure of speech to make women feel as if, weak women, gullible women, to feel as if they belong. But yet he was not setting up households. Now, my husband's dad comes from polygamy, and he does it right. All of his wives are straight. They're not fighting. All of the children he was in, because they all live together, not live together, but in the same vicinity. Like, oh, here's my wife's house, and he took care of all of them equally. But to say that, oh, I'm a polygamist and this is a way of life, but yet, and to preach so much, about the Bible, and well, I wouldn't say they preached about the Bible, but they're trying to take ancient, I guess, African teachings and kind of make it work for them. But that's just not how it works. When a man has several wives, you are to equally provide for them.
That's right.
as you know, as equally. And so let's talk about, because you came in contact, and I don't want to say the victim's name. Well, not the victim's name, but the victim's mother. You came in contact with her. You've had dialogue with her, and what you discovered was surprising. Now, I do have some information that I'm going to reveal here, but I do want you to describe that encounter of meeting the mother to the little girl who was sexually violated by Brother Polight.
Right. So we actually know each other. Okay. In brief, before all of this, right? We had met through Brother Polight at an event that me and Brother Polight had. Mm-hmm. Unbeknownst to me, I was completely unaware of the connection, who she was versus the person named in the reports. Right. So I wound up reaching out to her behind the scenes once everything blew up, and when I made the connection and realized, oh wow, it's her. So I reached out to her, and she's a very, very shooken up person right now, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. Right? Can you imagine when you're not really known like that today, and then tomorrow, you're the talk of the town all over YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You're now a hashtag. For a person who's not used to that, it could be overwhelming. On top of the pain she's already experiencing. So, she did speak towards the way that she sees a lot of people in the media representing her story, right? She even asked me at times to be mindful of the way I even tell her story, to which I had to, open up and say, you know what, you're right. You're right. I had to actually tell her, all right, maybe I jumped the gun on this, right? So there are a lot of people who are, more importantly, not connected to her at all, right? Who are running to tell details of the story to paint her out as an irresponsible mother, right? And one of the things that I'm not at liberty to go into detail about, but I will say in brief, is that when the news comes out with regard to the details of her case, a lot of people won't necessarily be so fast to condemn her as a person who allowed this man to do what he did. I could say that much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I could say that much. On top of that, she definitely praised the way that she saw you handle it, which we had in common. I actually said to her that I put a lot of respect on the way you're handling it, because I'm already familiar with your work. So I already knew that the spirit you would handle it with, you would bring it to him hard, but you would also show that care for someone who's going through the pain. And right. You did that in an amazing way, right? So that's what we initially spoke on. Yeah.
I did hear sources that are, I guess, allegedly close to, the mother and the daughter, who is, because they've been fighting this for a very long time. We've just, like I said, when I got the report from inside of the facility, I was just like, oh, okay. So this has been under wraps for a minute because they wanted to make sure that they could nail his ass. It wasn't just going to be, oh, you're accused, and then they try to self-sabotage or sabotage anything that they try to build. And so they've been building this case since February. And I did hear that when, I guess, he brought in return the little girl home, he thought it was going to be, like you said, you can't cancel me. So apparently this woman that he was with was, in fact, the only woman that he was with. And that the talk of polygamy was just something he sold as an idea in order to maintain a certain image to the public. And so the deal was, when they did get together, was that, if you're going to date me, you're going to date only me. And they were always together. There were no other women. Yes, he did go to see his, daughters, but the other so-called undocumented wives were not even sexually involved with him. Is what my sources told me. And also, when he returned the daughter that night, severely inebriated. I'm talking about damn near foaming at the mouth from all the drugs that she had been given. And she had never done drugs before. To kind of play with her memory so that if something were to be said, it would kind of be thrown out the window or shunned under because, you know, when people are intoxicated, they cannot, you know, be deemed as credible in some cases. But luckily her mother acted, and so sources close to me told me that when he did bring her back, the mom was like, "What's wrong with my daughter? Where did you go?" What, you know, and he was just like, "Oh, we just kind of went, you know, playing it off." And allegedly, she goes to get her purse to say, "I'm taking my daughter," and he literally lays on her and tells her, we should wait till the morning. I can lose my career. She's gonna be okay. We got to think of a plan to get out of this. And he thought that he was gonna be able to talk his way out of this situation. But she was so scared, and sources close to, I guess, allegedly her, claimed that if she had even listened to him, her daughter wouldn't have woken up the next morning.
That's right. That's right. This is the same way that I'm hearing it.
Okay.
You know, even towards the extent that, again, as more details come out in the general public, you know, those sources that are close to, you know, having their ear to what's really being said, a lot of people are going to wind up, you know, looking at the story not altogether different with respect to Brother Polight, but with more respect towards the mother and the victim.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that, again, people aren't really aware of, that, you know, will eventually come out as a court date coming. And obviously, you know, we can't speak on certain things, but again, you said a mouthful. Right now, I'm even hearing revelations within some of what you're saying.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I do know that you do have a rapport. Of course, I don't want to say anything that's going to be damaging to her case, and I'm not in contact with her. So all I have to go off with, just like when I broke the story, is what I'm given. And so, of course, the police report is kind of a collaboration of statements on what happened and how. But the DNA is definitely.
If I could say something about
yes, please. So, please.
I went to John Jay College here in New York City. It's a law college, right? Okay. And it's my favorite topic. I love law, right? So in studying criminal justice for so many years, you know, you pick up on certain things, you learn things. I'm not sure if you remember, there was a case many years ago about John Anthony Ramsey, a young girl who was raped and beaten by her stepfather. John Jay College, the professors, they were the ones that were helping on the trial. And I was in the school, I was attending John Jay at the time. So a lot of things that I picked up on, is a lot of things that I learned. Having said that, there's a lot of people ignorantly saying in the public eye right now that, well, we don't know, you know, Brother Polight's guilt or innocent, because all we know is that he got locked up, and all we know is supposedly some DNA. What a lot of people have not drawn a connection with, Sister Tasha, is the fact that there was a DNA warrant, and the fact that he submitted DNA on June 8th now means that the arrest that followed is because the DNA matched. So this is the issue that we're having now. He has to now explain why his DNA in the form of semen is on various parts of this 14-year-old girl. And while I can't adjudicate that in a court of law, because I'm not a lawyer to do so, nor am I going to attempt to do so, what people still need to know and understand is legalese, the legal language. The matter of fact that Brother Polight was arrested is because the DNA matched. Right. So that's the biggest problem that the public needs to now be aware of, because if the DNA matched, and when we say DNA in this case, we're obviously talking about semen, he now has to answer to the community he calls the conscious community and explain to them why a 30-year-old man's semen is all over.
Almost 40. Let's say almost 40.
Almost 40.
And I was shocked that he was even that age because of the looks of him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'm glad that you really, you know, kind of made that stick, because a lot of people aren't getting it. They're like, well, he's innocent until proven guilty. He was arrested after they had exactly what they needed to charge him. That's right. Otherwise, they would have charged him back in February, but they knew who they were dealing with. And so they knew that they had to come with something that he could not refute. Even in a jury of his peers, okay? in front of a jury. It's not going to fly. Children, semen on children is not. You're not going to explain that to a jury of parents.
That's right. That's right.
At all. And then not including, like I said, there are more charges to come with her being intoxicated. They're trying to figure, you know what I'm saying? So, and the drugs that were in her system, this is going to be a very hard one. And I wouldn't be surprised if one, which I wouldn't really give a fuck, if he decided to take the cheat, you know, I guess the easy way out. And that's why he's talking like, hey, if I die tomorrow, I've fucked the women I wanted to fuck. I've done what I wanted to do. I've driven the cars. I've bought the houses. I've done everything that I've wanted to do. Not once did he say, did he liberate his people? Or not once did he say that, oh, my kids will be just, nothing of that perspective. It was all what the money he made and the women he fucked, whether it was consensual or not consensual.
That's right. In fact, the brother says, now let's go back to stocks and bonds. He switches the story mid-sentence as if the seriousness of the allegations is not something that he should be of concern with. Because remember, the thing that helps and aids in the preying on the community is the psychological game that they play as they're sharing this information, right? People don't understand that his skill set is that he's an entertainer. We might even call him an edutainer, right? Because he takes the education and he uses it to entertain money out of people's pockets. That's the reality. And he's very good at doing that, except everyone has their day. Karma is real.
Yeah,
she is real, and she might be the black woman that he's been saying is God.
Like that's what I said. The black woman is God, and God is taking your ass down. 2 black women, okay? And I'm sure there's going to be some black women on the jury, and
that's right.
Yeah, and I was just like, how dare he try to say that? Fake news, and there's DNA.
It gets more interesting, Tasha, because 11 months ago, like I said, I know him from debating. 11 months ago, I'm sitting down with him and we are debating whether or not rape is okay based on the Bible's teachings.
And may you add, with the woman that is responsible for putting his ass behind bars, this same woman.
And the bombshell about that is he's there with a woman, and the woman he's there with is in fact the mother of the victim who he will victimize, rape, and molest, allegedly, in the months to come. So we're sitting down in his Beverly Hills penthouse, and he wants to debate. But I happen to have on my mind, I said, I remember Polight doing a video saying that rape is okay in the Bible, rape is okay in the Bible. And even though it seemed to be his agenda to downplay the veracity of the Bible by saying that, it still dawned on me that this is a sick and twisted mind to even make such a statement. So I wanted to make sure that day that I would press him on that topic. And that's what I did. And the moment that I started talking about it, for anyone that watches the video, you will see all of the women in the room cringing, especially the woman who he is with, the mother of the victim. She even gets up one point because she's so uncomfortable, so disgusted at him going so hard with this idea that rape is okay, rape is okay, rape is okay. So, to add insult to injury, Tasha, here is a man who may have a prior history of rape and molestation with underage minors. He has a current case of rape and molestation with underage minors, and was just 11 months ago in a video debate debating that saying rape is okay based on the Bible's teachings.
Now, I do want you to really elaborate on, your perspective, because, I had this discussion with my husband. I let him listen to your video, and it made a lot of sense. Even coming from a woman who, such as myself, who has had other sexual partners before I was married. And spiritually, it did not make any sense at all. And so, and I feel that, not to say that it was, I really want you to explain how you put it, because it really stuck with me. Like, wow. Like, because when a lot of women, especially if you ask them, do you regret, giving your virginity to this person? Do you regret sleeping with this person? A lot of times it's yes.
Yes.
Because it was not done in the right fashion.
Yeah.
And when you go and you take a man's daughter without his consent, and then you start sneaking and, you fall in love, and then you start to resent your own family because for some reason they see something in him that you don't see because you're in love or quote love, then you feel as if you were raped. And so I want you to really break that concept down for our viewers and what you were trying to explain to a man who has been victimizing and has been a womanizer since he came into this so-called consciousness that he was selling. And really, in actuality, he was selling dick.
That's fact.
Okay.
That's a fact.
Okay.
That's a fact. So let me first start off by saying this. So the debate is centered around a particular book in the Bible known as Deuteronomy chapter 22. In the last 7 verses, we're dealing with rape, right? The first 3 verses speak of actual forceful rape, the rape that we all know, which is, if a man overpowers a woman, grabs her and, takes hold of her, that's rape. But then about 3 verses down, there's another scenario, right? And this scenario plays out differently. This scenario says, if a man finds a woman and takes hold of her and they are discovered, then the man shall pay 50 shekels to the daughter of the father. He shall not be permitted to divorce her all of his days. So people reading into this, they say, well, wow, what is this? What's going on here? And here is the thing about this. In ancient African societies, of which most of us know and understand that the Bible is part of African culture, it was considered a deep, deep disrespect to come home pregnant and your parents never even met the husband. But we live
it still is. Shit, it still is. And we ain't even in America. This raised the fucking daddy. Look.
That's right.
But go ahead, yes.
Right.
Okay.
We live in an era, Tasha, where people don't realize that the things we accept as normalcy, there's a big issue with that. Like, this country, in some respects, has allowed us to accept horrifying things or degradable things for normalcy, which are not normal at all.
Right.
It's not normal that mommy and daddy should know that you have a boyfriend when you're pregnant. It's not normal, son, that we should meet your girlfriend, because she's pregnant. It's not, in fact, it's disrespectful. So in our societies, and especially the way that the Bible is teaching it, the Bible advises that a woman in her father's home, her parents' home, would first bring and introduce the man to the family. Why? Because we have to think about this, Tasha, and you know this as well. As an adult, you see things that younger generations don't see.
Exactly.
Right? Well, we all got a grandma that would tell you back in the day, bring him around me, I'll tell you what he is.
Right.
Bring that little heifer around me. My grandma always tell me, all them little pretty girls you dating, bring them around me and I'm going to tell you who they are. Why? Because they possess experience, insight, and wisdom to see into people beyond what we're looking at. We're looking at the physical. We're looking at the immediate gratification. All of the things that's going to get us in trouble down the line.
And my thing is, and I told my daughter this, and I'm going to be telling my son, I'm not raising your fucking babies.
That's right. That's right.
Now, if you want to come to me and introduce me to somebody that you feel you want to build a future with, and I'm prepared for what's to come, then we can congregate as a family and figure out how are we going to be here for this child that could come as a result of you guys courting. Now, however, when you go out and you do it without talking to me, and then I come home and this is what you come home and this is what you're presenting me, it don't work like that. Who's the father? Who's the girl's mammy? Because she gonna take that baby back to her motherfucking mom. You understand?
That's right.
And you ain't staying here. You gonna go live with him because you decided to put him first, as opposed to talking to the people who are really there for you. But keep preaching, brother, because you are saying a word.
Absolutely.
And
I want to say this: the finale is coming, so the Bible treats it as rape, even though the two parties are complicit, because the verse says, and they are discovered. Now, if we were speaking about true rape, the Bible would not have said, and they are discovered, because only one person would be in hiding. That would be the man. So when the Bible says, and they are discovered, that's our clue to let us know that it's actually describing a matter where the woman was complicit in the act. She wanted to have sex, but because they did it wrong, the Bible is now charging the man and telling him, you can never divorce her. That's going to be you for the rest of your life. This is your life lesson now. And this is now, as a lot of people don't understand it today, and I would say it like this. We have to understand that when laws are tough, the tougher the law, the more of a deterrent it comes to a person who has the thought to do that action, right? So the Bible doesn't intend to scorn people for mistakes, but the Bible does intend to deter us from continuing in this mess and making such mistakes. So the finale now is people say, okay, I get that the Bible is saying that the man as a punishment now can't divorce her and he has to give the father a higher dowry. But what about the woman? Is there no punishment for her? And here's what I want to say to you, Tasha. What a lot of people don't realize is she's already bearing her punishment. Because when these words are written, it was written in a time where keeping your womb sacred meant a lot and said a lot about you as a woman. What we going around doing today, giving it out to Tom, Dick, and Harry, that was not the ancient way. That was certainly not the African way. And that is definitely not the way any of us in our right mind would intend to raise our children. So what people don't realize is the Bible is silent on what her punishment is because it assumes you knows. It's the shame.
When she begging, well, you gonna come pick up your baby? Can I get some diapers? And his ass ain't nowhere near to be found.
That's a fact.
And I always say that, like, I'm telling you, I don't want to, even though the Bible says otherwise, it is the man's fault. He should be charged with rape. And the woman's punishment is silent. But however, I'm like, listen, you laid down and you allowed him to come in you. I have to bear the consequences of that. And it's truly, a lot of people will say, oh, we were both complicit, it's my fault. But I've allowed you to plant a seed in me.
That's right.
So then it becomes my responsibility, because my grandmother would tell anybody, there's two things a woman will do alone: raise a baby and die.
You're right.
When you decide to not to talk to me and allow me to help you to make decisions, that is going to be your punishment. And that's why a lot of times, and I mean, that's a whole nother conversation though, children raising children, not being able to properly, and then they're following that generational curse of not, oh, I shouldn't go tell my mom, that I had a baby because she did the same thing. Who is she to tell me?
Right.
And you started a domino, and you have grandmothers now that are 35 years old. And so I'm glad that you spoke of dowry, because to this day in my husband's culture, they're paying dowry. It may not be in the form of a goat or a cow, but they're paying dowry, whether they give the family some type of monetary compensation or whatever. But the families have to come together to agree that we are solidifying this union, and we are together going to help build and raise this union in the right direction. And they're allowing them to pick who they want to marry, but you still have to bring them to us. You still have to go to her father and ask if it's okay. And they're still doing that to this day. And I remember, when he brought me to the family, I was not ready. That is, even though he did go and ask my father, you know what I'm saying? And that was the right thing to do. And my dad gave his blessing. But to go to his family as an American woman, as someone who they deem was raised without morals and values and don't know the importance of family, although I do, it was a very hard decision for them to accept the marriage and the union. But he didn't do it until he got his father's blessing, and he blessed us, and we went on, and that's when, we've been together 15 years. But I think it's important that people understand it's, they get into relationships and they say it's all about me, but it's really not. When you need a community of people to help you to raise your children. You know what I'm saying? You want to go to be a nurse. You want to be a nurse. Nurse work 12, 13 hours. Who's going to watch your kids? You see what I'm saying? Like, people aren't thinking that far down the road. It's like, oh, I'm grown, I can do me, and why do I have to submit to these oppressive ways. Why do I have to ask permission? And it's like, it's not about that. It's making sure that everybody's on the same page to support you when you're going to need support, which you are.
I'm sure you realize it, but I'm still compelled to say this. You are a voice for so many young women right now who may think that your very way of communicating that is something that, they're incapable of today. A lot of women don't think that practicing those ideals is modern, right? That's the old thing. That's what y'all did back in the ancient times. No, sister, there's no time constraint on morality. Morality don't expire.
Right.
Morals, principles, and ethics don't have an expiration date. So in this moment, I want to say you're definitely a voice for a lot of young women and even young men, right, who are going to be listening and realizing that it's actually cool to have a high standard, right, for who you want to actually pull your pants down, right, and create a family. And I hate to style it in that way, but that's what these children are doing.
It's true.
That's what these children are doing.
It's true.
But they're doing it without their right-centered mind because, again, I do believe that people should take responsibility for their actions. I'm fully into that. But I'm also aware, Sister Tasha, of the culture we live in, American culture. And I know you know what I'm speaking
about. Yeah, I do.
In American culture, these things are normal, right? To not go to mommy and daddy is normal, right? To talk back to mommy and daddy is normal. In fact, to call mommy by her first name in this culture is normal, right? So we've lost so many of those key virtues when we took that ride across the Atlantic. And we're trying to get back to it. But the thing is, how do we properly get back to it when the people who are supposed to be the ones responsible for curating that information and giving it to us are hustling the people, raping and molesting them? The people that we're trusting to go into these cultures to find out how our African mothers and sisters once reigned as queens or kings, the ones trusted with going back to get that information are coming back to use it to abuse the people. So that's the dilemma that we face right now.
Now, after that conversation you had with Brother Polight, who I'm going to put a little clip with your permission to kind of reference that conversation, and I'll put a link back to your channel so that they can view it. What was his reaction when you came to him with all this information, knowing that he had been courting a lot of women irresponsibly and getting them pregnant and not being an active father in the house, not being able to financially provide for them and living off of the women? Because like I said, he owned not one house. If he courted you as a so-called undocumented wife, someone that he wanted to sleep with, that's not a wife. And then, he will stay with you for a little bit, go and find someone else that fits the stereotype of what, women are selling these days of courting, when it comes to like, bodies and weaves and lifestyles and things like that. What was his initial reaction when you challenged him, when you challenged his lifestyle? Because you were essentially challenging his lifestyle.
Oh, I certainly was. And I was trying to make it clear in very clear terms. That's exactly what I was doing. So I was met with fierce arrogance. I was met with fierce, grandiose, pseudo machismo, which is the idea that, I said it, I did it, and what? The brother has no sense of responsibility for the things that he is doing. He has no sense of culpability for the people that he obviously influences. And in fact, he is the picture-perfect definition of being wrong and strong, as we saw his response to all of this from the Rolls-Royce diaries.
Yeah.
All right. So I was met with a personality that I have to say is, in no greater sense of the term, a pure predator.
And I do want to congratulate you from one, sister, to a brother who is out here teaching biblically what's right and holding predators like this accountable even before people were willing to accept what it was. It wasn't until, and I hate to say it, them white folks got involved and had to submit, and had to bring DNA for people to actually believe it. And even some are still questioning it. And it's like, they would be the type to still allow this man around their children, even when there's documented evidence that says otherwise. And that's sad. That's really sad, because what I'm being met with is I'm an agent, and that I only condemn or expose our brothers and sisters. And it's heartbreaking, because my thing is, our people constantly get mad when we get stories, when we hear stories from white media, and they always project them as the end all be all. There's no ounce of non-biasm presented, and a lot of times it's very standard. And so for me to be, and I consider myself, a leader here in Black media, that if you're going to tell our stories, tell it right.
That's right.
And that's why I'm here, right. Because, yes, I present a lot of stories in white media. And let me tell you, there's this saying that sounds about white, because a lot of them are just that way. It's like, there's only, and I think that they feel that only white people can do crimes like this. And it's like, no, the reason I decided to take on this platform is because I was a little girl that wasn't protected from my family when they violated me. And it was swept under the rug. And we're notorious at doing that, because we don't want to see one of our own being oppressed by the system. And it's like, how do we learn? How do we come up out of oppression against one another? Because it starts in our homes first. And a lot of our people are sick. And they think this is right. I remember when I was like 16, it was okay for a grown man to stop me on the side of the road and get my number. They thought it was cute. Like, do you think any of my uncles, now my dad, of course, he didn't play that shit, but my uncles and, my cousins, us, it was considered the cool thing that if a grown man stopped. And I remember the first time it happened, I was around 11 years old, coming home from volleyball practice, and a grown man that was 24, I'm 12 years old, 11, 24, stopped me on the side of the road and asked for my number. And I'm walking alone. I was like, sir, I don't know you. And it was very aggressive, but could you imagine like someone with that type of experience talking to an 11-year-old? A lot of times they can overpower you and talk you into doing certain things because you are still in a phase of learning. You know what I'm saying?
And because of their age difference, you see them as an authority.
Right, and a lot of people don't realize that they're automatically taking advantage because you see them as he's grown, he knows what he's talking about. I should listen to him, not realizing that this is all the way inappropriate and not right. But because we've allowed certain things to be okay, that's the reason why my platform exists. It's not okay. I don't fuck if you white, brown, black, purple, it's not okay. And if you want anybody to be taking on stories such as I do, it should be a person of color. And that way you know that I'm not biased, because I'm not married to a white man. I'm not, I'm not piggybacking off of what my white media does. A lot of times they take content that I've presented
from you
and put it out there.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
As a subscriber, I can tell you that's a fact.
You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, what are we doing here? Are you guys making excuses? Because a lot of times you guys have kind of pushed this shit under the rug, or maybe your daughter right now is dating somebody that's, inappropriate. And so, I really took offense to that, because I'm like, wow, so you would rather white media continue to spin narratives and continue to paint black people out as just uneducated, ignorant, just unworthy, whether it being your own people. And that's one thing that I like about a lot of our spiritual leaders. They do preach that we should be in control of our own. And so if I come with a story and I tell you that this black man is sick, you should believe it. You shouldn't call me no agent and that I'm working for the feds and all this shit.
That's right. And plus, Tasha, let's just be all the way real. Cleaning up starts with your backyard.
It does.
And we are entrusted. We are the gatekeepers for that. If we're calling ourselves a nation of people who are supposed to have pride, we glory about the things of past, being kings and queens, but we don't have enough intellect to understand that we have to be of self-governance as well. We should be able to clean our own shit up. We can't speak about the government not doing for us or doing us wrong, when on the same token, we are not commendable or honorable enough to stand and say, I'm going to step out and make sure not in my community, not on my time, not on my watch.
Right.
But if we're waiting for the same people that we continually critique, we don't like the way that the white people police us. All right, so let's go out, brothers, and let's go police our communities. We don't like the way white media covers our stories. So you got Tasha K. So now what's your problem?
It's never enough. It's like, and it's like you can't have it both ways. You can't. And so it's either Sharon from NBC is going to be telling this story and you may not like it, or Tasha, who's going to provide some context and not condemn the entire family. Like a lot of people did go in on the mother, and I was like, why would you go in on the mother? Just because a police report says that she took or she gave permission for him to take a 14-year-old to the club, that right there should have been a red flag. How can a 14-year-old get into a Miami club?
Thank you for saying that.
How?
Exactly.
And let's be honest, there's a lot of women that watch my show that don't go to the police after their daughters have been visibly violated. And I commend her for doing the right thing. Like, she didn't ask, well, I'm fucking taking my daughter, fuck you. I don't give a shit how long we've been together, what we got going on. This is my child. And so, I just had to put it out. I had to do the right thing. And I'm glad that I did. And I don't take it back, at all. And like I said, if any of these conscious leaders are out here taking advantage of the public, I'm telling you, I'm on their ass now. I'm not playing no more. I'm not playing. So, but anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? Thank you so much for even accepting this interview.
You're so very welcome. What I wanted to say is to people out there that think that this is over, in the sense that where do we go from here? What I want to say is the hunt for consciousness, or the movement, the forward lateral movement of us as a community, as a nation, that still continues, that still thrives. But we have to now use this story as a vetting process, right? Somebody's not entrusted with my loved ones because they're knowledgeable and they know all the Hotep slang. I don't care how many aunts you have. I don't care how many trips to Egypt you have. If you don't show me that, you're practicing what you're preaching, then we can't mess with you. So I think that the story that's coming out is going to teach us that we need to vet these people more. And also, we need to be a little bit more proactive with the predators in our community. And that doesn't just start or stop with a big personality with Brother Polight, because like you said, this is happening around the corner. Mm-hmm. This is across the street. Hell, this is in some of the people's homes to be viewing this.
Right.
Right. So I thank you very much, Tasha K, for allowing me to come on your show. Thank you so very much.
No, and thank you just for being an example of what a black man is supposed to represent in his household. Because like I said, you are married, you are a father, of 2 young women, and you are walking. And you are walking the way that you're supposed to walk to be able to lead these women. And a lot of women may not, want to agree with it. And a lot of time that's why they've taken on this kind of, I guess, I'm independent, I'm this, not knowing that we come together as people in order to build for our children, that, you are doing the right thing. And so I do, even if you're not getting the credit that you are, I'm sure that your wife gives you enough credit, and that thank you for just being a leader and standing behind what it is that you preach. And I do appreciate you taking on predators like this and showing their true colors. You know what I'm saying? And so thank you.
I want to say this last word in closing. It's foot on their motherfucking next season.
Yes, it is.
Hashtag.
That's true. And like I said, I'll give you Brother Saneter's police record if you want to put it out. So since he want to claim he only sold crack, he smoked this shit too. So, yeah.
All right, my sister. Thank you so
Thank you. Please tell everybody where they can follow you and subscribe to you and ask you questions and things like that.
I'm Zion Lexx on Instagram. I am Zion Lion on Instagram. And I'm Zion Lexx on Facebook. I'm ZionLexx.com. And I'm ZionLexx@gmail.com. Thank you so very much, Tasha K.
And trust me, we'll have you back on the platform in the future. So thank you so much.
It would be an honor.
All right. Now we got to go. We're just going to say signing off. Bye.